Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Today is going to be round 6 of the Flux Motorsport LMP2 Championship in the American Tour. So, coming up in our driver roster right now, 7 drivers up for play and up for grabs in the ever so torturous Road America. And we just started qualifying now. The drivers setting their times, getting up to pace with their quality setups, and just seeing where they stand in the race. Maybe some setup tweaks here and there for the race itself, but you know, these guys are having to keep in mind of a few things: tire wear, fuel, and really just keeping it on the track, because the nature of this track is since Matosi sets a benchmark time of 56.4, Muttley falls behind 5 seconds, and one person we gotta look out for is Immortalis, is disconnected, I think. I don't know where he is, but in practice he set the time to beat, and I think he's attempting to join back in the lobby. But somehow, this is gonna be a... Oh, Immortalis retired? It says he retired, but I don't know where this puts him. Let's see where the lobby is right now. He's in the lobby, but I'm not sure where he is right now. He's not in the track, and oh, there he is. That got me worried there for a second, because Immortalis is the guy to beat. He's runner-up for the LMP2 Championship last time we were out a few seasons ago in the European Tour, and he's out there right now in the Red Line 68 car. And note that there are 2 drivers in this lobby that are run on controller, but the difference with Survivor and Immortalis is that Survivor runs on the joystick setting and Survivor runs on the motion sensor, so 2 completely different driving styles, but they both make it work to their own liking. Mark Webber and Matosi now 3/10 behind each other. Matosi going a second faster with a 55.4. And Crack Piston following closely behind. This is the fastest we've ever seen of Crack Piston so far in qualifying in this championship. Let's see if what he can do in this race. Granted that everyone takes it very carefully in the start, but we all want to race for position, and that's what these guys are gonna try to do, but you know, we never know what anyone is thinking. And Mark Webber going into the 54s, so it's going to be a time that Matosi will have to beat, but Immortalis is still on track, trying to set the time that they will have to beat. Let's look at his onboard. See his steering's janking it all the way to the right, to make up for that disconnection. As you see in the sky, it's clear skies right now, and doesn't look like he's about to make his push lap, but we'll have to see what he does here on board with Immortalis. and he's gonna start I think his first push lap, keeping the car straight for first turn, which is fourth or third gear right-hander. Very fast, but it sort of narrows a bit on the exit, so careful not to take that for granted. Onto the curb as close as possible, but careful not to mount it. Keep to the left-hand side as much as you can. Brake at the first Pirelli sign. Try not to mount the curbs again. They're very tall, and as much as the tires are very wide, but the suspension is very stiff naturally, and the cars are much heavier. And braking for the grey tarmac there at the start as their braking marker. Clip the apex and run wide on the exit, but not too wide. Brake before the over the crest in the Corvette bridge, and careful not to watch out too wide. Immortalis, I don't know what his sector times are, but we'll have to see towards the end of this lap. But these two, Mark Webber, Toasty and Crack Piston, still holding their own. Immortalis is approaching towards the bus stop, just desperately trying to put as much steering lock as he possibly can. The understeer is just insane. What more can it be than the high fuel load and the dirty air? Eight minutes to go in quali. I think there's more than enough time to try and set more fastest laps, as these guys can try and muster. Because crack piston there, bit of a shock there for me. Sorry about that. And Muttley 4 seconds behind, 59.0. And Immortalis sets a 53. What a staggering time that is. Behind Mark Webber, 1.3 seconds behind. I don't know how they're gonna make up that time, seeing their times compared to practice. And it's gonna be a very interesting one, because Immortalis is very quick, and we all know how quick he can be on a very good day. But on the race, it just depends on if the grip and the confidence is on his side. But nonetheless, he's a very competitive driver. As he runs wide there, that's gonna be at the end of his last push run. Survivor makes a leap forward. Is less than a second behind. Mark Webber says, "No, I'm not having that. I'm gonna go faster than you." And let's see what Matosi can do. He's still 2 seconds behind, but he's got the pace to do it, and I think on the race anyway. But pole position is actually very crucial, because of how the dirty air is very it hurts the driver so much, and especially on that bus stop. These cars are not meant to follow, as I said in the last previous races. And when you get into slipstream, you don't gain much top speed, and it's just trying to maximize the fuel save, lifting and coasting. But let's see if Immortalis can better that lap time. He's on his out lap right now, I assume, and Mark Webber is still pushing very hard. 11 liters left of fuel and cold tires, still warming them up. And Toasty, I'm assuming he's also on his push lap, but the cracked piston is falling back to 5th because of these guys, the pace that they're building right now. The track buildup is starting to get more grippy now towards the end, so the best part to set your fastest lap is towards the end, when no one else is on track, because that's where the track is at its peak, where the rubber gets built in the most, because everyone has done their runs now. But there's also the pressure of screwing up your final lap and potentially getting it the fastest. But you know, these guys are on a caliber of their own. Mark Webber, a rookie in this season and a rookie in this league, and he's really made a name for himself so far this season. And you know, he's still got a shot. He's only tenths behind the leader, but we don't know what will happen in terms of race pace. But the driving style of Immortalis is just something to to watch. You know, he's pushing every car to the limits and beyond it sometimes, and that can also be said towards Bruce Law. And so far right now, Mark Webber as well, as we've seen in the IndyCar races, where he's won Watkins Glen last week. So 4 minutes to go. Assuming there's going to be 2 push laps left for all of these guys to do, assuming they leave the pits right about now. Matosi not improving on his time so far. He's got a very low fuel load right now, 5 liters. So let's see what he does after the end of this lap. And hello there, NZ Jack, as he says in the broadcast. Hello there, mate. Nice to see you here. This may not be the official broadcast, but I really try to do my best to entertain, let's say. On board with him in the cockpit view. Matosi now is a very different driver, kind of like Bruce Law, very calculated and backs out at the right opportunity, but then again knows when to attack and not to attack. That's sort of the intelligence that the drivers do have. Let's see what he does now. He improves by a few tenths, but not enough. He goes back to the pits, try to regather himself, to wonder how the hell are these guys setting the lap times that they are setting right now, and I am 1 second behind. But you know, Survivor's really making gains on the field right now. What, less than a second of Immortalis, and that is very impressive. Oh, Mark Webber's crashed there. He's gonna have one more chance, assuming he gets a proper outlap, or he has enough time for it. So 2 minutes 45 left to go, and Survivor's done his push run there. He's gonna have one more chance as well. It's gonna be around 2 minutes or so to get around the track, coming from the pits, as well as warming up your tires. That's me right there, not doing the race. And Muttley's still 5 seconds behind, but he's improved his lap time, and that's the most important thing, is to not beat other drivers, but more so to beat yourself. And these cars are looking awfully close to each other, getting to know each other very, very well. Maybe they're sharing setups, or sharing sharing very crazy stories to each other, as they seem to be very close right now. Seem to be in the same cockpit. Sorry about that. But yeah, Matosi, let's see if he can improve. He's on the high fuel load, so he's gonna test out what the setup is like on the high fuel load. So that's gonna be his qualifying runs done for him in this session. But Crack Piston is less than a second behind Matosi, so potentially a few drivers here for the podium. Assuming Immortalis pulls it off at the start and pulls away in every lap. And hopefully I don't jinx that, so I'm saying assuming. So anything can happen, really. 6 drivers on the grid only, and that's pretty much the least we've had so far in this championship. But next season we're expecting it to extend quite rapidly, as Matosi's practicing pit entry. He doesn't get a penalty, so that's good. And these two are still awfully on top of each other. Crack Piston now on his final push run. He's on now he's on high fuel load. He's practicing race setup. See what Muttley's doing. See if he can improve his time. It's 154 to beat, 158.4 from Muttley. He doesn't improve, and he sits in 6th place behind Cracked Piston. So race of attrition now. These guys are gonna be, I'm predicting that they're gonna be separated early on in the race, because when they're going through that bus stop, that's where Immortalis has left the session. Oh no, he hasn't. Sorry, that was just my screen playing with me. But yeah, pole position goes to Immortalis with an incredible lap of 153.2. Mark Webber 6/10 behind, and that's the loading screen done. Sorry, but yeah, 1 point goes to Immortalis for that pole position. Who can get the rest of the points for the race win, and also fastest lap. So gonna be very interesting. Well, by the looks of it, not so interesting, because there's only 6 guys, excluding me, because I decided not to take part. And these guys are gonna have a warm-up lap, coupled with, yeah, a full warm-up lap, a formation lap, and a manual rolling start. So all Immortalis has to do is not go over 75, because that's the speed limit of the leader of the warm-up lap. The rest can pretty much just stay behind, do any speed that they want, as long as they stay behind the leader. And hello viewers checking in. This is my attempts of being entertaining and being funny, and hopefully in your benefit, yeah, also entertaining. Jesus, what am I saying? But gonna be, I think, a few minutes left to go, or a minute left to go until showtime. So let's go grab the opportunity to have a water break. So we're ready to rock and roll here, but not at the moment, as we're so gotta take you through our driver roster. So there's Muttley in the, I don't know what, on the orange car. I don't know what number that is. I'm not familiar with deliveries, but he is in the Ligier Nissan, and pretty much everyone is in the Nissan as far as I can tell. Mark C pulled out last minute, as he was in the Ligier Honda. Cracked Piston now in the F4H livery, same as teammate Survivor and Matosti in the number 2 Besmone blue and white car, setting a time a full second behind the top 3. Oh, don't want to do that. Oh, hang on, let me check if I'm doing it. Yeah, don't want to do that. Sorry about that. And Survivor in the other F4H car, qualifying 3rd place. This is the highest he's qualified, I assume, and the closest he's been towards the top. So very good qualifying run from him. These guys are now warming up the tires. It's a soft tire, I assume, for everyone here, as people have tried the hard tire in practice, and I don't know if that's worked out for any of them. Or is it going to be mixed compounds? Is it going to be a soft tire, only a soft tire in the front right, or maybe a soft tire in everywhere but a hard tire in only one side? But let's see how these guys will play it. But I'm assuming it's going to be simple, straightforward soft tire towards the end. But these guys have already burned off 2 liters of fuel in the warm-up lap, because they're running, and unlike the last time we were out here in the LMP2s, there was no formation lap. It was just a standing start and then go. And these guys have all to do it now. So see the top 2 there weaving around, and the rest of the field trying to warm up the tires as they get cold the graphic there in the top right side is inaccurate. It does not really show the actual temperature of the tires. It should be about green and going cold, but it's not blue. Immortalis now gathering the rest of the field in the final sector for the start of the 45 minutes of Road America in LMP2s. So Immortalis has been here been in this position before. He's qualified on pole, and from what I saw, he won a lot of those races. So final quarter now, and he has all to do it now. He has the experience of the car. He's one of the quickest guys from last season. And let's wait till the green lights come up. And we are go for racing in Road America. Immortalis leads the field. Mark Webber and Survivor trying to move towards the inside of Mark Webber, doesn't make it stick, and McToasty still sitting behind. Everyone's sitting behind each other, single file. So far, no moves still done. Ooh, who's that? It's got cracked piston. Spun behind there. Muttley's collected his position, and I assume that's an awful lot of damage, but doesn't. Looks worse for wear actually. He still looks to be quite okay. Wasn't quite a big hit, but he stopped completely on the track. But going back up front, Immortalis already pulled away from Survivor, who collected second place from Mark Webber. I didn't see that, but McToasty in fourth, Muttley fifth. Cracked piston with damage in sixth. He didn't lost too much time, but there's a cracked headlight there in the left-hand side, so hoping that's not suspension damage. But Immortalis now pushing already in the start, or the guys are falling back behind from the dirty air. Mark Webber collects second place, and Survivor is falling back to fourth. I didn't see that, but he didn't lose any time, so assuming he just understeered and let the two past. So Mark Webber leading the second pack, or the only pack in this race, and McToasty trying for a move, and Survivor's also trying for a move. Looks towards the inside of McToasty. Doesn't. None of them make it stick. They're just trying to pressure each other at this stage of the race. Sorry for my stutters. I'm not very good at this, but yeah, already from the start. Immortalis already built up a reasonably comfortable lead at the start. If he can keep this up, he can keep chipping away, but he's got to keep in mind, I'm sure he is keeping in mind of the fuel burn and the tire wear. He's done this before, and he's runner-up in the last championship of the LMP2s behind Bruce Law, only missing a race, and that's what cost him the championship. And Mark Webber, a rookie driver, already in contention for this championship, and he can seemingly drive anything from IndyCars, GTEs, and LMP2s as well. He's shown his pace, and he's a very competent racing driver in this league. Survivor as well, keeping close behind and holding off McToasty. Still a battle to be fought here, but as you see there, McToasty and Survivor actually is losing time towards Mark Webber in front. Let's see how much more time he's going to lose as he's trying to follow behind. You see there, Survivor understeering there, washing out wide, and McToasty desperately trying to stick it to the inside. So far, this is the only action we've got. Yeah, and cracked piston a minute behind, assuming he made repairs. So still 4 minutes in, and still waiting for that action to accumulate. But you know, gotta be patient. And these guys are playing that game, trying to be patient, and Toasty's falling behind now, possibly out of slipstream range. But Survivor's already close, and he's also close. He's gonna go down the inside of Mark Webber, and Mark Webber doesn't defend, and he's already made a move before the corner, so that is Survivor in second place. If he can make a mistake, he washes out wide into the dirt, and he holds Mark Webber off. Mark Webber has a look and doesn't break him. I don't know the term, sorry, but Jesus. So this is your order, folks. Survivor jumped up to second place after losing third and fourth, and climbs back up to second. So this is Survivor's giving us all the action right now. This is good gains for the American driver. Back up in front, and Immortalis hasn't built up that lead. I'm assuming he's backing off when he thought he's pushing a little bit, but yeah, listening to his car, he's on low revs as Survivor's in high revs, so he's pushing, and Immortalis has saved a liter more than Survivor. He cuts the grass there, trying to gain up as much as he can, and he's pushing, and so are the rest of the guys. But Matosti is probably playing the smart game, but he's on the same amount as the two guys in front of him, and Immortalis is getting the best of the conditions right now. He's gained up 3 seconds as Matosti is trying to set Mark Webber up for a move. Let's see if he does it. This is a very long straight, and let's see if Mark Webber moves to the right to defend, and no, they both sit back for now. Matosti not close enough to get alongside, and these cars are not meant for outbraking each other, and you can only make the move when you're alongside, and that's what we've seen so far in my experience in the LMP2s. These cars are built for what they need to do: endure a very long distance. And Survivor gaining up on Immortalis in the first sector. Immortalis has the decision to make. If he pulls up the race strategy after a few laps to see how much liters he's losing per lap, and if he knows he can get towards the end of the race on that pace alone, he could probably push a bit and try to manage the fuel, because usually, as you've seen in all the races, these guys are pulling off no stoppers, unless if it's for damage or tires. But these guys are very quick and very competent drivers. They know how to race, and they can always try to adapt to every changing situation as the race comes in. Toasty now sitting behind Mark Webber is too far back to try and make the move at this point, and McToasty pointed out in practice that his car was a bit slower in the straight because every time he tried to remove some downforce on, and that's probably why he's losing a bit of time. But still, he's still hanging in there 5 seconds behind Immortalis. You can pretty much pray that anything can happen to these guys in front of him and just collect the pieces. Survivor consistently gaining on Immortalis. You can see him actually on the camera there. There you go. You can see him, and I don't know if his objective is I'm gonna take the lead because I know I got the pace at this stage, But these guys are setting 56s, which is almost about quali pace, I believe. No, that was a 54 actually. But the fastest lap so far goes to Immortalis with a 56 point. No, actually goes to Mark Webber with a 56.4. I'm assuming that the times will go down as fuel starts to burn and the car goes lighter. In Survivor now less than 2 seconds. He was more than 3 seconds a few laps earlier, but he's making gains in Immortalis. And I don't know what games these two are playing, but I'm assuming it's two different strategies. Ooh, jumped off the, slid off the curb there, Survivor. That's not the way to do it, but if you're pushing, then, you know, yeah, as I mentioned with the curbs, they're too tall. If you ride over them, the car bounces around and gets very unsettled, and it gets very awkward once you get back on track. When you're alongside someone who's not on that curb, it makes for a pretty nasty incident. Tosi now still keeping that gap, 5 seconds, not losing much time, but Mark Webber is also gaining a bit of time from Survivor, trying to take that second place back. Oh, and Survivor loses so much time there, and Mark Webber is already close behind. Let's see if it can be a move towards Canada corner, or after that Canada corner, or towards the start-finish straight. And Survivor has resized that gap back from Mark Webber, and the gap has already increased to 3 seconds. So back where he started, he has to pick up the pieces again, or assuming he's got more pace, he's got to collect the pieces back and try to focus on keeping Mark behind. But oh, he slid off. He mounted the tall curb there, and his car just slid off it, and he lost a bit of time there, but only a few tenths. So nothing lost so far from Survivor, but he is pushing. Immortalis has saved 3 liters more than Survivor, who's made a bit of a mistake, which cost him a few. Oh, he mounted that curb again and almost went into that wall. What a save from Survivor, and this puts Mark Webber potentially in overtaking range, but not close enough. And Survivor goes to the inside, and he's not far back, so he moves towards the normal racing line. Sorry. So far so good. We're more than 10 minutes in, and I don't know how much information I can relay to you guys, but yeah, this is us so far. There's a bit of a pack there from second to fourth, but Muttley's holding his own. He's still on the lead lap. He's 23 seconds behind. And commiserations to Crack Piston, still also on the lead lap. Lap 1 with damage, and still trying to hang in there. Tosi now keeping that gap towards Survivor. He's also decreased it. It was 5 seconds a few laps. Ooh, he's got a bit of an off there, a bit of oversteer, and he's caught it. Careful not to get these cars into a half spin, because there's no way he can save it once it gets to that stage where it gets too sideways. But Matosi losing a huge amount of time, 6 seconds now from behind Immortalis, and these two are racing for position. I'm glad I'm not in this fight, because I could potentially cause a big crash and widen the field even more, but that's not the point. And these guys are racing for position early on, or maybe Survivor's trying to use Mark Webber as. Actually, he actually gets past Survivor. Oh my god, I didn't notice that. So Survivor trying to take that place back, and he knows he wants it. But Mark Webber's, they didn't lose too much time behind Immortalis when they made that move, but I actually didn't see it. So he has it all to do now, gain on Immortalis, but at the same time save more fuel, because Immortalis has saved quite a bit, only 2 liters more than Mark Webber. So I'm assuming it's about 3 seconds, 3 liters per lap. You have to keep an eye on that, on the fuel gauge and on the top right side, beside the tire infographic. The cars have a 75 liter max fuel load, so when it gets to about 30, I think 32, yeah, 32 liters, we can see how these guys will try to play the rest of the race. You know, it'd be fun if I had someone alongside me to try and commentate along this, but I don't know how Carlin does it, or Ritters, but I am trying. So, we've got a red, if you look at the top left side, there's a red on Survivors. So let's see what kind of penalty. A 2-second penalty. That is. Oh, don't want to do that. That is for track limits, I assume. And oh, Survivors lost it and hit the tire barrier, and that is. Oh, he's retired. A shame for Survivor. He did very well there from the start. A valiant effort for Survivor, and a big salute. And that leaves only for Cracked Piston to be for the leaving for F4H car out there. And this leaves Mark Webber for a big push towards Immortalis, who is saving fuel, I am assuming. And he's now gaining, he's now less than 3 seconds behind him, so let's see how this plays out. Only keeping an eye on 2 of them. And Maktosi trying to pick up the pieces if those 2 battle. So this is us so far in this stage of the race, and Mark Webber gains more time. Let's see if what sort of gap he'll try and gain towards the end of this lap. So far, I hope you're enjoying the show, folks. I'm sorry I'm not very good company for you right now, but you know, this is what's happening. Might be a good idea to do a track walk with Mark Webber as he comes around the final corner. Who's that on the off? That's Cracked Piston in the left-hand side there, but come around the final corner, trying not to touch the curb on the left-hand side. It's too tall, and the car gets unsettled. Keeping he's eyeing on Immortalis right in front of him. He's making that big push, but keeping towards the left-hand side. Starting the lap now in Road America. Very long straight. Very good opportunity to get in the slipstream and braking after that. As the track gets dark and the rubber starts to build up, that's where you brake, and brake for the Pirelli signs there on the left hand side. That's your braking marker. Understeer there towards the end of that corner, but important not to clip the very tall curves on the right hand side. So focusing on the braking point, which is the gray AstroTurf there on the right hand side. Brake before it or just at it, and he brakes just a few meters after it and not clip the curb in the left hand side. Don't drift out wide towards the less grippy there, and brake for the Corvette sign. Tall curb there, understeers and off camber. A bit of a lift there, but flat out for Mark Webber as he's pushing, and brake for that number 2 sign after that. A bit of a 90-degree left, and now for the very long and torturous carousel. a bit of few lift-offs there, trying not to brake because you lose more time braking than lifting off as you try to carry that speed all the way through. And Mark Webber doesn't seem to be gaining a lot of time, but he's probably holding back now. And very dangerous corner here. It's easy to get oversteer on the turn in and flat out through this section and get it straight for the left hand side to get a nice and clean braking and a nice exit for the final corner. That wasn't a good track guide. I'm sorry about that, but that's a lap around Road America with Mark Webber. Fastest car at the moment, setting 156.1, and Mortales 156.2. Let's see how he responds to that. And the rest of the fields seem to be, oh, there's only 4 drivers in the grid. Cracked Piston has retired, and that leaves only Muttley, Matosi, Mark Webber, and Immortalis. So all the top 4 get very good points. So going back to trackside now, and Mark Webber's gaining heaps amount of time. He's for a second there he was less than a second behind, but he probably overshot that corner and lost all that time back. But Immortalis now has to keep an eye on him. These cars are a handful to drive. They're a very different league from the Formula Renaults, the V8s, Indy cars, whatever. These cars are, you know, a chore of their own to drive, because just from the way the car floats around in some corners where you don't feel the tires grip, and it feels very light as well when you turn in, it oversteers, but there's no way to catch it. And it feels light, but it's not actually light at all. Very heavy car is this, but especially on the high fuel load. But you drive them like Formula cars, very smooth, no sudden blips of throttle, very progressive and smooth steering inputs. But in the case of controller players, it doesn't look very smooth as we get on board with Immortalis. And let's see how he steers into the corners, and he adjusts the joystick there, and he presses the clutch in the entry of the corner to save fuel. Let's see how that compares with Mark Webber's fuel load. It's only 3 liters difference, but that can mean all the merrier when it approaching towards the latter stages of the race, when these guys didn't think they'd be burning more fuel than they actually thought they would. But Mark Webber is not doing that strategy. He's not lifting coasting at all compared to Immortalis, and he's less than a second. And Mark Webber seems to be focused more on corner entry, and Immortalis gains it all back on corner exit, so he's got more traction on the exits. And Immortalis playing the safe game, very low revs, and very later on the throttle. See there, compared to Immortalis almost on half lock, and Mark Webber only slightly turning the wheel, as how you could tell between a controller player and someone who plays on the wheel. That's how you tell. And a big lock up there. I don't know who that was, from Immortalis, I imagine. Not ideal considering they only have 1 set of tires to go to the end. I don't know how bad the tire wear is for these guys right now, but the lap time drop off is actually, it hasn't dropped off at all. It's been 56s since the start of the race, but depends on one decides to push it or not. Mark Webber falling back behind now in that after that straight. It's interesting that Immortalis was pressing the clutch there. Very desperate attempts for fuel management. If you can hear the engine cut off, and
and get back up to power again after the entry. But very dangerous technique there, as you have no engine braking at all. As you can see there, you can hear the engine shut off and turn back up again, and that's where Mark Webber's been having his gains on Immortalis. He's still 3 liters above Mark Webber, and Matosi is not decreasing that gap whatsoever. But you know, these guys are still on it. I don't know if Immortalis is not bound for a mistake here, because he is playing it safe right now, and he said that he's the only driver that breaks through the carousel, as you saw the brake lights come up there. So I don't know what will happen. I think it's job done for Immortalis, but it's too early to say. He presses the clutch there very early towards the corner, probably about 100 meters in the entry. Oh, Mark Webber a bit wide there. He's lost a lot of time, so that is job done for Immortalis if he can hold it. It's a bit of a lonely race for everyone so far, but towards the start of the race we had a good battle with Survivor and McToasty. We're all bunched up at the start, but as I predicted in the start of the race, they're all now very separated towards each other. Apart from these two, which is the only battle that we're ever gonna get, the only change of position in this stage of the race, or potential change of position, as Mark Webber gained that time back in that section. So he's throwing caution to the wind now, as Mark Webber is pushing, making mistakes once every few laps, but nothing worse for wear. He's still gaining time, just a little bit. There's still 18 minutes left to go, so he's got more than enough laps to try and push and gain that lead. But assuming Immortalis goes to push again and tries to pull away, let's have a listen now to see where the engine cuts off again. And he cuts off very early this time, like much earlier than last lap. But he's still somehow gaining up time against Mark Webber, so it shows the raw pace that Immortalis has right now, especially in this car. We'll see how Immortalis attacks this. And he puts the the clutch back off again once he starts braking. That is a very dangerous move, as the car will maybe start to bounce a bit because of the reactions from the diffs or the gearbox or whatever. But you know, he's playing it safe. He's still keeping a gap against Mark Webber. He's not losing time at all, except for after this section. Maybe he's losing all the time on the entry, but more than makes up for it on the exit. I don't think it's a good place to be pressing the clutch in that section. Oh my god, what a driver. And also what a driver Mark Webber is right now. And still keeping up close, but Immortalis is only part-time this season. So this is very good points for Mark Webber, as Just Pidlin and Cat Guy have pulled out of the race. I imagine it's a bit of a frustrating race for Matosi. He's not gaining a significant amount. But he's also not fuel saving, as you can hear. He's not lifting coasting, but you know, all he can do is sit back behind. He's doing a pretty good job just from staying behind, making no mistakes and not pushing too much to try to desperately get back up in front. But you know, he's still hanging in there, which is the most important part. Not crashing and keeping it between the walls. Oh my god. I think he'll be glad that I caught that on stream. But anyway, 14 minutes left to go. Sorry, 4 minutes and 14 minutes and 30. Still a fairly long way to go, actually, but Mark Webber, I don't know how long he can still keep pushing until he has to start fuel saving. Immortalis has gained 5 liters from the fuel saving antics, and every lap he's getting earlier and earlier on the clutch and the entry of the slow corners. Yeah, that takes massive car control to be able to pull that off. But Mark Webber probably thinks that he's gonna be thinking of sitting behind and just trying to collect very good points for the championship and not try to risk to get 5 more and ruin my own race and let my toasty by and lose more points just for that, or even worse, let Muttley by because of the damage or potential damage if he crashes. Mark Webber can probably hear the engine note from Immortalis in front. Like, why the hell is he doing that? Why is his engine shutting down in the entry? That's because he's pressing the clutch in the entry so that the engine doesn't use up any fuel at all, because that's what happens when you press the clutch. The car starts to roll naturally from its weight, not from the engine braking. Even when you use engine braking, the car is still using fuel. So that's the technique, or technique that probably no one ever uses in real life, but you know, I'm not the one to judge on that, so please let me know in the comments. See fastest lap, who's got it so far, so it's still gonna be Mark Webber who's got the fastest lap, but I think Immortalis will probably pinch that and get a quality time back up there. Because Immortalis is setting 57s, which is 3-4 seconds slower than his quali pace, which in his terms it's normal pace, and that's just how quick he is. And McToasty probably pits for a set of new tires or maybe more fuel. Yeah, he pits for 15 liters more, or just to make it to the end, because he knows he probably knows that he can't he can't catch up, or he knows that he's not gonna expect Mark Webber to pin it anymore, as he's still maintaining that gap. But it's not all lost for Matosi. He's still on the lead lap. Final almost 10 minutes 30 left to go. Still out to play for these two guys up in the top two. Toasty 40 seconds behind now. He could try to push forward the fastest lap because Immortalis is fuel saving right now. Or maybe he can try to, you know, jump it towards the end if he's got enough fuel. Or maybe this can be a bit of a struggle for drivers. I don't know how much fuel every lap they consume, but let's try and calculate it with Immortalis' fuel load once he starts the next lap. So 6 liter. Oh, Mark Webber pits for fuel. So this is gonna be Matosi has to push now to see if Mark Webber has a slower stop. I don't know if he's gonna risk changing tires or not, but that's gonna be music in the ears of Immortalis, who saved 6 liters more. But let's see if he can still hang in there and not deplete the fuel entirely. But he now knows that he can save more fuel and put the clutch in much more earlier. And he is changing tires. Let's see if Matosi can catch him. And he's still on the final sector. He's on the final few corners. He's now in the front straight. I think this will be close. I'm assuming Matosi has the position now. Mark Webber is still exiting the pits. I don't know how close he is towards the end. And Matosi does take second place. So that is a much slower stop from Mark Webber, or a slower entry, or maybe he's had a bit of an off before the in lap. But that is Matosi put into second place. He's let Matosi by. I don't know if from a slower stop, but that probably was because of the change of tires. And Mark Webber has all to do now, 10 seconds to catch Matosi on maybe a fresh set of tires. You know, part of me wishes that I could have taken part of this race, but you know, trying to live life with no regrets here. But let's see how much action there is gonna pan out towards the end of the race. But yeah, it looks like this is it, folks. I mean, not much is going on, and I think things are gonna stay the way they are towards the end of the race. And Immortalis going through the turn 1 in 6 gears instead of 4th. And assuming he's going through... Now he's going to switch to normal gear. That is wild. And kind of funny in a way, but still 7 minutes to go. I'm assuming 5 laps left to run. And I think he's got just about enough fuel to get to towards the end. And Matosi is catching, but I don't think it's going to be enough once Immortalis starts pushing again. He is a long way from the entry once he starts pressing the clutch. What a lad. He's still flat out through those corners, but it's 6th gear, very low revs. Desperately trying to coast that car towards the end. See how early he's gonna press the clutch for this one, or how much he's saving. He's only consumed about 2 liters that lap, and he's pressed the clutch before pit exit. On the grass there, trying to maximize the corner entry, even on trying to go as slowly as possible. Oh, he almost went off, and he is off. That is a commentator's curse. I am very sorry about that. And that is and he resets it just to not lose too much time. He's lost about 5 seconds from that little off there. Only about a 7-liter difference to Matosti and Immortalis, and Matosti now certain to get towards the end. Muttley now in 4th place. I don't know if he's also got enough. Only 6 liters left to run, but I haven't mentioned Muttley towards the entire race. But commiserations to Muttley for keeping on the track and not giving up as the situation pans out. It's never a good position to be in, but you know, race of attrition, 4th place, good points. That's all that matters. And I don't know if Matosti will actually get Immortalis. It's too soon to say. Assuming Immortalis has another off, but he's probably not gonna let that happen again. And he sets the clutch all the way back, probably like 200, 300 meters this time. So he's probably gonna try to extend it and not gonna try to do another lap after this one. So I'm not gonna get on board with Immortalis so I don't get a commentator's curse, but let's check in with Mark Webber. He's gained about 2 seconds to Matosti, but he's not very visible in his front windscreen, so the chance of catching him is unlikely at the moment. But I keep mentioning that these guys always have to wait for someone's off. And that's pretty much how it's been so far. And you know, it's a very not very eventful race, probably the least eventful race that we've ever had. But it stays the way it is. Immortalis on pole, but in the only missing survivor who qualified 3rd, I think. So Immortalis going as slowly as he can. Maybe he's gonna push for the final lap, for the fastest lap after this one. I can feel it. I can feel it happening. And we've seen Immortalis do this before in the older seasons, in Sakito. A few seasons ago in the European Tour, he was on the lead, and he built from that lead. And Sakito was not a track where you could get towards the end on normal pace. You had to fuel save, and Immortalis did just that. Where everyone else had pitted for fuel, tires, or maybe damage, he stayed out. He's not gonna push it for this lap. No, he isn't. But he has to keep in mind that Mark Webber doesn't have the fastest lap. No, still to the end, so that's gonna be it for Immortalis. He's actually saved more than enough. I don't know why he didn't go for fastest lap, but you know, this gets him safely to the end, and that's all that matters. And Matosti gaining on Immortalis like he has a puncture, but he doesn't. He's just cruising it towards the end. And McToasty now has actually there was a glitch there that I thought they were on the same amount of fuel. But Mark Webber now 5 seconds behind McToasty. He has one final chance. You can actually see McToasty now in the horizon, but it's not gonna look very likely. See, who's still got fastest lap. Best lap goes to still Mark Webber. McToasty 55.9. Immortalis second best with a 55.8, and Mark Webber with a 53.6, 2 seconds faster. And Immortalis is on his way towards the final sector. I'm assuming this is the final lap. Yes, it is. 15 seconds, 14, 13, and he has collected all the pieces today. It's been a solid drive from Immortalis, and not much else is said. I pretty much said enough, and he's led all the way from the start, built a comfortable lead, and extended it even while saving fuel just like that in very hectic ways. And that's pretty much the caliber of what Immortalis can do, and the rest of these guys. And he comes off over the final crest, and he wins in Road America. What a very dominant win from Immortalis. McToasty comes back with a very valiant second place, fending off Mark Webber in the pit stops there, and Mark Webber collecting very decent points in third place. Muttley now fuel saving, now got 26 liters, or I assume he's already completed the lap. So that is it for round 6 of Road America, and is Immortalis your race winner. Led from the pole, not the fastest lap, not the full sweep, but it is a very dominant win. Well done for him. McToasty second place, and gained up 3 positions, and Mark Webber with the fastest lap. So that is it. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, take care.